Yeah, I think it kind of gets to the issue of what is normal. And really, based on the title of your book, I think we can have a deeper appreciation for the fact that nobody is normal. Normal is really more of a statistical construct than anything else. Can you tell us when normality entered the English language and became part of our common vernacular?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head exactly when it entered the English language, but it was, a long, long time ago. But when it did enter the language, it was exactly as you put it. It was a statistical term. It was the average.
Mm.
And the even when it was used to refer to the teachers training programs in the United States in the what were called normal schools, it was not referring to something necessarily good. It was referred to sort of teaching the average values of society, not about people, but about the values to be imparted.
Ah, I see. Yeah. Yep.
And it is only in the age of conformity, which is post World War II, that we start to see normal become something to aspire to and to be like everybody else,
Mm.
for human beings to embody some kind of similarity to others. The problem is that a lot of what got defined as normal was defined by white men, for white men, about white men.
Hmm.
I kid you not, when the W.T. Grant Foundation gave extraordinary amounts of money to Harvard University to characterize the normal American man, their entire sample was the Harvard freshman class of men.
Yeah, not exactly
So normal
representative.
became, you know, that Harvard freshman class. When these alabaster sculptures that I write about, called Norma and Norman, were displayed around the country and at the American Museum of Natural History, the physical attributes of the normal American were based on data, on body measurements that were taken entirely from white people.
Hmm. And I found it super interesting too that when they created those statues using all of the averages, they were actually deformed. So in some kind of poetic sense, it's like if you're too normal, it's actually kind of a distorted version of reality in a sense.
Yeah, and that, what that was making me think of is something else. Yeah, if you don't mind me jumping
Sure,
ahead,
yeah.
something else that I write about, which is, yeah, my grandfather, who really was my idol. He had that same view of normality, the kind of the way you just described it, as almost distorted. And so he did this really interesting study. My father was involved in it too, at a college that was outside of just outside Chicago. It's no longer in existence, but typically what the scientists in mental health would do is they would go and they would give people psychometric tests, and they would find out who had which mental illness or not, and they would study them, and they would not pay attention to the people who didn't qualify for a diagnosis. So, but they had this idea: let's go look at the people who don't qualify for any mental illness diagnosis at all, and let's see what they're like.
Yep.
Right.
And they were really boring. They were really boring. And in this 1961 paper, which predated by decades the neurodiversity movement, shows what a visionary my grandfather was. He said to his readers in an article in the Archives of General Psychiatry, is the lack of innovation, the lack of creativity, lack of insight, acting on impulse rather than contemplation, lack of ambition. Is that the price we have to pay for normality? Because that's how he characterized the people who were quote unquote normal. The interesting ones and the ones who went on to be, successful, all those people qualified for some kind of diagnosis.
Yeah.
It was
There's
an
a lot of
amazing
ordinary
thing
people.
to say at that time.
Absolutely. There's a lot of ordinary people. Everyone's trying to fit into the 60% in the middle of the bell curve, No one wants to be on the outliers of that.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to fit in the middle.
And I think the book is very, I try to be optimistic. I'm not a Pollyanna and saying everything's great in the world, but I definitely, you look at the number of people who talk about being transgender now, who are, LGBTQ, or who talk about having autism, and or celebrities talking about their struggles with mental illness. I mean, I feel like we're on a good course to
Yeah.
to challenging that. And there must be, because I saw a student in one of my classes wearing a shirt that said, "I hate normal people."
Yeah, that's the
Clearly
statement.
that's coming from someplace. Something's happening, right?